a train a-comin', it's rolling around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on.
Johnny Cash, Razorback football, Rattlesnake Ridge. There is a lot happening in Arkansas tourism, heritage, and culture, and I've got an all-star assembly here to help me talk about it all. We've got Stacy Hurst, Director of the Department of Arkansas Heritage, Rex Nelson, Senior opinion writer, columnist
Whatever
with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette.
I take out the trash.
Arkansas Traveler. He does a little bit of everything.
Really
so
does.
welcome to both of y'all.
Thank you.
Good to have you both. I would normally do ladies first because chivalry is not dead on this show, but Rex brings a topic to the table.
It's a big topic.
And it's one of the biggest topics of the week. The Razorbacks versus the Missouri Tigers, War Memorial Stadium. Why is this significant?
Yeah, we can put the great stadium debate to bed for another 6 years before we start up again. I was in the governor's office when we had the original great stadium debate. And you know, we probably got more comment about that than any other issue in the 10 years I worked in the governor's office, including school consolidation. I think so.
Wow.
And it shows really what a part of our culture that is, where we play University of Arkansas football games. A compromise that no longer will Arkansas play every year at War Memorial, but I would say it was safe a year ago. Most folks would have thought they won't be playing anymore at War Memorial. Well, they will be for the next 6 years. They will play Missouri here in Little Rock every other year. So the old contract runs out this year. They've got Ole Miss. Next year, they'll have Missouri. So you'll have conference games actually in back-to-back years. And I think it's probably the best that supporters of War Memorial Stadium could have hoped for at this point.
And the Missouri game is always the last game of the season.
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving weekend.
It's the made-up rifailry game that we're trying to overhype here.
Yeah, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, there are no students on campus at Fayetteville on Thanksgiving weekend. Crowds have been poor up there for the Missouri game, so it makes a lot of sense to me. I think the crowds will be good here. The other significant thing about the timing of this, Roby, is that this 6-year contract, when it runs out, the contract to play A&M every year at Jerry Jones's stadium in Arlington will also run out. My sense is they'll go back to home and home on that. And I think if Little Rock does a good job with these 3 Missouri games, they stand a very good chance. Again, we're 6 years away, but they stand a very good chance of going back to 1 game every year here in Little Rock.
Let's take that note down there, Stacy. Rex Nelson with a prediction. We're going to come back in 6 years and see how accurate it was. You're a UA grad. You're a former Little Rock City director.
Right.
And you're a Pine Bluff girl. And there is a Delta reason why these games in Central Arkansas matter too. Do you like the move?
Oh, I do. I mean, I grew up visiting Little Rock to go to Razorback games. I mean, it was part of our culture in Pine Bluff as well, part of our history. And I do think it's important. And I really liked Yurichek's comment about this really isn't all about the bottom line. He recognized the culture in the state of Arkansas and how this has been an important part of so many people's history. And I think it's a very positive move.
Yeah, I was just telling a story the other day to someone who hadn't been here a long time about the games at War Memorial Stadium. It was before the announcement, and was recalling the Miracle on Markham, the big shootout with Quinn Grovey and Andre Ware back in the day, and just some of those memories that were there. So, absolutely.
Well, and I'll add too, it is a boost to Little Rock, to the city, to the economy here. The retailers love it. The restaurateurs love it. It is a nice boost to our local economy.
Yeah.
And it comes back to that idea, and this is what I've written all along, why they needed to stay in Little Rock. Razorback football is about so much more than per game revenue. And I think the previous athletic director, Jeff Long, couldn't get to that point. It was all about per game revenue to him. Well, the per game revenue is always going to be more in Fayetteville, let's admit. But it's a bigger picture. It's part of our Arkansas culture. It's part of the university being a true statewide university. And I think to their credit, the current chancellor, the current president of the system, and the new athletic director all get that. Here's the interesting thing about it though, Roby. The key player, I think, in all of this was a guy from as far northwest Arkansas as you can get. and that's Asa Hutchinson. He came to Little Rock's aid and basically said, you're going to stay in Little Rock, you're going to keep a Little Rock presence, and I think the Board of Trustees kind of fell in line with that, and the AD, to their credit, and the Chancellor realized where the governor was and where the majority of the board was at this
All
point.
right, let's move to partnerships. Stacy, you're bringing this topic to the table. The Department of Arkansas Heritage has been building some partnerships in some kind of non-traditional ways from previous years. Tell me what's at work here.
Well, a really good example is our recent addition to our system of natural areas. In early May, we dedicated a new natural area called Rattlesnake Ridge. Just west of Pinnacle Mountain State Park, there's 373 acres out there. And we partnered with the Nature Conservancy, who took the lead on it. We had a private donor who was involved. There were some other quasi-governmental agencies, and we were able to put that 373 acres into conservation through that public-private partnership. So it works really well. It will now be forever protected for the public. Public has access, which is what we wanted, and it's incredibly beautiful.
Are there rattlesnakes on that ridge, or can you just see them from that ridge? Because I'm not a big fan of rattlesnakes. I'm gonna have to tell you.
Guarantee you there are rattlesnakes on that ridge.
I will tell you, it is the easternmost range for the western diamondback rattlesnake. So while we haven't seen one specifically, they are probably there, yes.
Yeah. What do you think of these types of partnerships, Rex? You like this?
Oh, I think they're wonderful. You know, I think what we have come to realize in Arkansas is we call ourselves the natural state. We have always had a strong outdoor bent in this state, but I think we are finding that that kind of conservation ethic is a key part to economic development, because in the 21st century, Roby, and you and I have talked about this a lot through the years, economic development is about attracting young, talented people to live in your state. And they're looking for those kind of opportunities. They're looking for mountain biking, as the Waltons have realized. They're looking for hiking opportunities. They're looking for bird watching opportunities. Not just the old hunting and fishing, they're looking for those too. But I think we're coming to a realization of the state is it's not just about tourism, it's about attracting people to actually live here. It is an economic development tool.
You got other stuff in the works along these lines with these types of partnerships?
We do.
I know you might not tell me what's in the works, but you can if you want to.
We do. We have another opportunity up in north central Arkansas, a tract of land that's privately owned, but the owner wants it to stay in conservation. So we're working with some partners up in that area to protect that. Which is going to be great. We've also got some private interest in starting a foundation that supports the Department of Arkansas Heritage. So bringing in more private money to support our efforts. And like Rex said, I think people recognize the value of our natural and cultural resources and how it is a key component of economic development for tourism, but also for that quality of life piece that economic developers look for.
Yeah, there's definitely is a huge trend there, and it's not going away anytime soon. So my topic that I'm bringing to the table is Delta heritage and tourism. I'm going to rattle off a few things here. You got things happening in Wilson, Arkansas. You got the Johnny Cash boyhood home, the Sultana, which was a steamboat tragedy from the Civil War era.
And I wrote about that museum recently.
It's got that Arkansas Post things happening there. We mentioned bike trails earlier. There's just a bunch of new stuff sprouting up in the eastern delta of the state. And I guess my question is, what do you think is making this happen? Why is all of this populating? This is all new stuff.
I think we're becoming more interested as a state in our heritage. And obviously with the western expansion of the United States going east to west, that is the oldest part of the state as far as European settlers. And there's so much heritage there, whether it's blues heritage, whether it's the food heritage we have over there. And for the longest, and it frustrated me, when I was at Delta Regional Authority, I represented parts of 8 states, but I was an Arkansan. And the Mississippi Delta did a much better job of promoting what they had than we were doing in the Arkansas Delta. They did a better job promoting their music. They did a better job promoting their food, their history. Our culture is just as rich. We have just as rich a musical heritage. We have just as rich of a food heritage, on, as the Mississippi Delta does. In fact, the Arkansas Delta is much bigger geographically than the Mississippi Delta, and I think now we're catching up.
Yeah, some of this too, Stacy, is that, I mean, these communities have got to reinvent themselves. There's been population loss. We don't have an answer to these things. We've got to find new and creative ways to to draw people to these regions of the state? Do you think that's part of what's at work?
Oh, I do, and I love listening to Rex talk because he articulates it
Rex,
so well.
Rex loves listening to Rex talk too. So.
And I love his columns because he expresses it so well, because that the Delta is so rich in history and culture and food, and Mississippi has done a better job for so long of really talking about and promoting their history and making it attractive to visitors. So when I was first appointed, I came in and I was looking through old files, and two of my predecessors had looked at heritage tourism, but it had never really fully developed it. And that's one of the things that I have made a priority to really to do a better job of promoting our resources, our historic resources, in a way that attracts tourism. The Food Hall of Fame is a really good example. We've got lots of interest from the Delta, restaurateurs and events. I'll let you know we're creating an app. The committee is going to see it next week, I think, and it'll have one of those, if I'm traveling through the Delta, what are the restaurants I need to go see? And they'll be able to pull them up and see the Food Hall of Fame nominees and restaurants. So we're really focused on that, and we have our Delta Cultural Center over there that is constantly telling the story of the Civil War and agriculture and the blues, which is a huge attraction for even international visitors. So we're very plugged into that, and looking forward to doing it even in a bigger and better way.
Yeah, and I left off a few things. The Hemingway Pfeiffer home has been increasing in its visitation.
Absolutely.
You got the Lakeport
and let's not
Plantation
forget
and Helena. And
what we're doing with the bike trails now. And we've got, I mentioned the Waltons earlier, Tom and Stuart Walton, even though they're in Northwest Arkansas, they're starting to make grants over in the Delta. And the point is going to come, Roby, where you're going to be able to leave downtown Memphis, cross the bridge, because they've already done the Harahan Bridge there, and go all the way to Lake Village, Arkansas on dedicated trails. And I really believe when that's done, that's a world-class attraction there.
Yeah.
That attracts people from all over the world.
And Rex opened the door, so I have to mention that we're still working to save the historic Clarendon Bridge, which could be a very important piece of a bike and pedestrian trail all the way from Memphis to Little Rock.
Give me your odds of saving it. What is it right now?
It's
50-50?
looking pretty bleak. No.
All right.
Judge Piazza gave us until the end of May really to find a political solution, and we're still working on it. But $11 million to tear it down versus $5 million to refurbish it and repurpose it just doesn't make sense to me. So we're still trying.
All right, we'll see where it goes. All right, Stacy Hurst, Rex Nelson, we'll see you on election night too.
Absolutely,
So
I'll be here.
Thanks to both of y'all for being here. Appreciate you. More to come right after this. Don't go away.